Worship music is one of the most highly debated points of a Sunday service, whether it's how loud it is, what church the music comes from, and even down to what instrument should be played. Thoughts and prayers for my Baptist drummers out there: stand strong, your day will come.
Hashtag a drum come true.
But with all that being said, I do wonder sometimes how so many different Christian artists from different backgrounds actually find ways of collaborating on albums and creating music that suit both of their beliefs and convictions. I can't imagine the brainstorming process is easy. So I appreciate you coming out today, man. I'm excited to make some music.
Yeah, man, no problem. I'm a big fan of your music.
Well, the thing is mutual, my friend. Anyway, should we get writing? I've been working on some stuff on the guitar I think you might like. Are you good?
Yeah, just creating that worship atmosphere.
Oh, okay. Well, I was thinking we could maybe take this hymn from the 1800s and add some chord... Wait, where did the...
Lampshade, that's what you guys call it? Yeah, it kind of looked weird, right? Oh, I got it. How about the first line is, your waves of love are like a sea when you crash into me.
Yeah, it's definitely catchy. We can add it in as a maybe for sure. How about we work on how many chords we can fit into one bar? I was thinking something like...
Sure, but hear me out on this one. How about just using these 4 chords?
Wait, isn't that just King of My Heart?
Waymaker?
Reckless Love?
That's it. The second line can be wind through the air like your waves of care.
But I thought we'd already mentioned...
wash over me like the waters of the ocean, because I'm going through the motions.
But let's make sure we don't forget those really meaningful sayings like, dost thou dirge pine to thy master's glee?
Yeah, no doubt. We'll have a section of talking in tongues for sure, my man.
Organs.
Electric guitar.
Violin.
Drums. But wait for this, in glass boxes.
Choir.
Choir, yeah, choir.
Now, although that's clearly just a joke, I wouldn't be surprised if some of you took a side in that discussion. It's an easy thing to do if we're not careful. I happen to like things about both camps. For instance, it can be helpful to have a constant soft tone to help prevent those distractions such as moving of chairs or phones vibrating when you're trying to focus on singing to the Lord.
You know, it's always about outside noise, and that's just outside noise. For us, we got to focus on what needs to be done.
I also like the context of hymns that have more biblical themes rather than just testimony all the time. But let's take a look at some examples of what God's word says about worship. Romans 12:1 says, I appeal to you therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Hebrews 13:15 says, through him then let us continually offer up a sacrifice of praise to God, that is, the fruit of lips that acknowledge his name. And finally, Psalm 95 verses 1-3, O come, let us sing to the Lord, let us make a joyful noise to the rock of our salvation. Let us come into his presence with thanksgiving. Let us make a joyful noise to him with songs of praise. For the Lord is a great God and a great King above all gods. That's strange. There seems to be a lot of mention about who we should worship and how we should present ourselves when we worship, but not a whole lot about the right way to worship. Does that mean then that we have the freedom to sing about whatever we want and repeat an endless amount of bridges and choruses that will only be good for being stuck in our heads for weeks on end? Well, yes and no. The heart behind worship is the most important part. It should be sacrificial, like Romans and Hebrews says, with thanksgiving and joy, mentioned in Psalms. But it also needs to be tested against verses like this in Isaiah, which says, this people draw near with their mouth and honor me with their lips, while their hearts are far from me, and their fear of me is a commandment taught by men. The danger associated with music is that it's not just a Christian practice, believe it or not. I know, shocker, right?
Wow!
But that can often mean that we can start to focus on producing songs that sound good but aren't biblically accurate. But as long as we've got those 4 chords and it sounds good, we're chilling, right? Definitely not. Although I don't believe that songs need to be packed with verse-by-verse exegesis with some Strong's references thrown in for good luck. It's also a form of ministry, and the words you're singing about God need to be backed up by the words in his Bible. Otherwise, my friend, you'll find very dangerously close to the sun that is false teaching. Must have had a technical difficulty there, sorry about that. But before we start on a wild goose chase after some of these more testimony-based artists, I want to address the other side as well, because I think it's important. I've heard of people refusing to sing songs by particular churches based off of the theology they teach, and although I wouldn't want anyone to be encouraged to listen to sketchy teachers because they've been drawn in by the music, I also think that we can't say that only certain people who have certain beliefs and values values can produce music that is glorifying to God. Test the lyrics by all means, like we talked about in the other video with that verse from 1 Thessalonians. But you'd be surprised at how many of the solid hymns came from questionable people too. And yet we still sing them. For instance, the guy that wrote It Is Well With My Soul denied all belief in an eternal hell. The writer of Blessed Assurance believed in a theology which teaches that if a Christian can perfectly surrender their flesh to Christ, then they'll experience perfect delight, which I personally don't believe is achievable this side of heaven. So how do we conclude this? Well, as we've already discussed, it comes down to the heart and accuracy to what you're singing. Are you proclaiming things about God that are right? Or are you profaning his just way of being by including your own beliefs? But also as a worshipper, are you locked into your response to God's goodness when you sing? Or is it about making a statement to others that you have holy convictions and to sing a song about God's goodness from a church you have concerns about? Worship is so often made into this cagey ground of how can I look to be doing the right thing, when in fact it should be about how we can die to self and give our all in that time to give God the glory that is rightfully owed to him. Anyways, a lot to talk about. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Be sure to comment down below. Consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. And as always, it's been your boy Z. And until next time, see wonder and be astounded at what God can do.
Drums? But wait for this. In glass boxes. Boxes.